Jim Johnson's a pretty normal guy ordinarily, but lately he's been acting very strange. Mine seems to be a million miles away. Mrs. Johnson and Judy are getting worried about him. Last night, for example, he turned down a piece of his favorite pie. The other day, he even kicked that car he's always been so proud of. And is always writing figures of some kind on the backs of envelopes. No, this isn't like Jim at all. There must be something wrong. That magazine he was looking at, maybe that's a clue. Yes, that's the answer. Surprised you didn't guess, aren't you? Well, there's only one thing to do. Only one cure. And Mrs. Johnson is wise enough to know it. She knows the only medicine for this condition in the American male is this. The gleam of new chrome, the sparkle of new paint, and that wonderful perfume that only comes from a new car. Yes, it's a familiar scene, one that's played every day all over America. And we're all better off because of it. You see, that beautiful new car and the way Jim Johnson feels about it are the symbols of a constant desire for something newer and better that is typical of all the Johnson families across the nation. And the competitive drive to satisfy that desire, to build that better mousetrap, is the force that has made the American marketplace the most abundant in the world. We in the automobile industry know the story. We helped write it. Under the spur of competition, of having to come up with something newer and better every year, the automobile industry has pointed the way for our whole economy, not only in mass production methods, but in long-range thinking and planning. Yes, forward product planning, putting in our showrooms the kind of cars and trucks and tractors that Jim Johnson and millions of people like him want and can buy, is one of our biggest, toughest, and most important jobs here at Ford Motor Company. It's a tremendously complex job. It means getting the right answers to literally thousands of questions and interpreting them into 1.5 tons of steel and glass and chrome. It's a job for experts, lots of them. It's a job that takes time and money, too. You don't put together a magnificent machine like this overnight. You don't plan and style and design and tool and build an automotive vehicle in a matter of months. Actually, years before Jim Johnson came into the showroom, this car was conceived in the minds of men at Ford Motor Company. This is how it happens. This is the story of product planning. This is the Ford Product Planning Committee, a team of top executives who coordinate all of Ford planning activities. Each one is a specialist. Each one brings to the job a special knowledge based on his training and experience. These are the men who give final approval to the company's forward product planning programs. John R. Davis, chairman of the committee and vice president, International and Tractor Group. Henry Ford II, president of the company. Ernest R. Breach, the company's executive vice president. Benson Ford, vice president and general manager of the Lincoln Mercury division. Louis D. Crusoe, vice president and general manager of the Ford division. William C. Ford, a company director and manager of special product operations. Robert S. McNamara, company controller. Theodore O. Itema, vice president, finance. Walker A. Williams, vice president, sales and advertising. Earl S. McPherson, vice president, engineering. Del S. Harder, vice president, manufacturing. Irving Duffy, vice president, purchasing. This is the team that determines what Ford Motor Company puts on the road 4 or 5 years from today, that decides whether or not we've found the right answers. The first questions are asked and answered in the vehicle divisions, Tractor and Industrial Engine Division, Special Products Operations, Lincoln Mercury Division, and Ford Division. This is where it starts. This is where the first steps are taken. Specifically, starting to develop the basic objectives for the advanced vehicle is the job of product planning personnel in the divisions. But planning a new vehicle is not simply dreaming up something that looks like a rocket on wheels and then manufacturing it. Even to decide the weight and general dimensions and specifications of the vehicle takes months of gathering data and analyzing them. Suppose you were starting out to plan a car or truck or tractor to put on the market 4 years from today. You'd need the answers to a good many questions before you attempted to style and design that vehicle. These men get those answers. Market? Yes, a big question, made up of thousands of smaller questions. What part of the market are we after? What share of the market are we trying to reach with this particular vehicle? Do we want to extend that? What kind of total automotive market will we have 4, 6, 8 years from now? No crystal ball gives us the answers. It's dig for the facts, analyze them, study them, interpret them. Look at the trends. What about total cars in use? Which way? Up? Or down? How about the scrappage rate? More? Or less? What's the trend in export markets? Greater? Or smaller? What about population? Sure, people buy cars. Will there be more of them or fewer? And what's the general economic outlook? Prosperity and expanding markets? Or recession, taking up the slack, tightening the belt? Now put it all together, all this and more. Come up with your best estimate of what kind of a market we will have for our products 2, 3, 5 years from now. How many American families like the Johnsons will decide to buy a new car? What will they pay for it? And finally, most important, how many of them can we expect to buy Ford products? What part of that total market will go to Ford, to Lincoln, to Mercury? What share of the truck market should be Ford's? What share of the tractor market? Of course, saying it doesn't make it so. No share of this future market will be ours unless we earn it, unless we put into that market a vehicle that will sell. That means more questions, more answers to be found. What kind of a car will get us the share we want of the future market? What features? What performance? What size? There's only one person who knows, the customer. So let's find out what he expects to get in his car or truck or tractor. What will the customer want? The best way, of course, is the most obvious. Ask him. Go into his home and ask him. Take the product to him and ask him. Talk to him on the telephone and ask him. Visit him on the job and ask him. Send him a questionnaire and ask him. Ford's division and central staff marketing research people are constantly carrying on consumer research and reporting their findings. They test hundreds of color schemes, hundreds of styling features, hundreds of trim fabrics, colors, and combinations. And always questions. Which ones do you like? Which don't you like? How would you rate this color, this fabric, this fender line, this feature? They use every technique science can give them, like testing emotional reaction with an electronic reaction indicator, like testing reaction with the eye travel camera to see what catches the attention. Then put them all together, compile, coordinate, condense, boil them down, analyze them, interpret them. Come up with the answers, the trends in consumer preference. Tell us what Mr. and Mrs. America are asking for, what they like and dislike. And not just our own research. Other people are asking questions too. Find out what kind of answers they are getting. Compare the trends they show with your own and add them into the picture. More ammunition for the division product planning staff. And that's not all of it either. What do the men on the firing line tell us? our dealers and their salesmen who talk to customers every day. They have some important answers too. So let's find out. What does the Dealer Council say? The Dealer Councils, elected representatives of Ford or Lincoln Mercury dealers all over America, meet with product and sales people regularly to discuss our products. They get the answers where it counts most, on the sales floor, where the difference between success and failure is the customer's reaction to the car or truck or tractor we have produced. The Dealer Councils tell us how our present models are being accepted, where improvements might be made, what features the customer is interested in, what kind of performance he expects, and very important, what kind of money the customer is willing to spend to get what he wants. It finally boils down to a list of what the Dealer Council believes should go into future models, and the division product planning people consider every one of their suggestions. Things are beginning to add up. The pattern is forming. The pieces are coming together. But there's more questions to be answered before we can even talk about our objectives. We're not in this thing alone. This is a competitive business. The directions we take, the products we plan are tremendously affected by what other manufacturers are doing. So we must also ask and answer the question, what's competition doing? Competitive styling and design trends must be analyzed and evaluated. Comparative sales figures constantly checked and interpreted. Every scrap of information possible about what competition is doing and intends to do must be gathered and our own plans compared and evaluated against theirs. We must not only keep abreast of competition, but ahead of them in planning our forward products. And we're still not ready to set our objectives. There's another important question to answer. What's going to be available from engineering? Background engineering for future models is going on continually in Ford engineering laboratories. Development work on engines, electrical systems, transmissions, materials, and methods. Which of these programs are nearing completion? Which will give us new features, new components for this future vehicle? And now, out of all this tremendous mass of data, out of all these thousands of questions asked and answered, out of all this research and study and analysis, our vehicle of the future begins to come into focus, to take shape and dimension and character. But it's still just a beginning. Years of work still lie ahead before the vehicle will be readied for production. But we have some important answers now. We have a pretty good idea of what our market is likely to be and the kind of vehicle it will take to earn our share of that market. Now the product division is ready for the next phase. Meetings with engineering to present vehicle requirements and finalize objectives. Now it's engineering's turn to answer some questions. These are our requirements. Can you meet them? How? When? The skull sessions start in earnest. To pin down this car or truck or tractor we'll build 3 years from now. It takes meetings, discussion, hundreds and hundreds of ideas to be thrown out on the table, kicked around, hashed over. What will our objectives be in this future vehicle? What should its general size be? Longer? Shorter? Lower? Wider? What will its styling objectives be? How much should it weigh? What kind of performance do we expect of it? What should it cost? What will the timing of it be? When should it be finalized? When introduced to the public? And of course, all these things are interrelated. Increased size means increased weight. Increased weight usually means increased cost. Weight plus performance determine engine size. Engine size determines the proportions of driveline components, brake and tire requirements. And finally, all these things affect cost. Cost is ultimately price to the consumer, and price is a big factor in determining sales volume. Objectives must be set carefully, painstakingly, thoughtfully. No quick decisions, no hurried judgments. Because from these objectives, our engineering people will now begin to set the pattern for the future vehicle. Objectives will be converted to dimensions, specifications. Targets will be interpreted as components, but still general, still flexible. There's still a lot to be done before this vehicle can take any definite shape. First, engineering staff talks out the problem. works out the best approach to meet vehicle division objectives, selects the basic components, and decides what their general arrangement will be. Then engineers go to work to develop a package that will meet the objectives. A seating drawing is developed to establish interior body dimensions. A chassis drawing is prepared to show the functional location of engine and chassis components and establish their proper clearance with body and front-end sheet metal. An overall car drawing is made to establish exterior dimensions, clearances, and angles of approach and departure. Manufacturing engineering personnel are consulted as work progresses to check the feasibility of engine and chassis specifications. And always heads together, meetings, bull sessions, engineers with engineers, engineers with product planning people from the divisions. Are we meeting the objectives? Are we making it competitive? Are we on the right track? Then calculations to be made, weights to be developed for all components, acceleration, top speed, and economy to be calculated from weight, engine displacement, axle and transmission ratios to be checked out, interchangeability charts to be made, costs to be developed, timing to be studied and charted. Then bring them all together, all the charts, drawings, calculations, data. This is the package. Still general, still flexible, still only the concept of a vehicle, but closer now to the car or truck or tractor we're working toward. And finally, back to the division with it. Engineering presents now to the product division planning people the vehicle package, a concrete answer to their requirements for the vehicle they will market 3 years from now. Now the product division is ready to formulate a specific program for the future model to present to the product planning committee. More questions to be answered about this package. Questions that need the specialized knowledge of other division and staff people. The division controller's office, with the help of finance and manufacturing staffs, has questions to answer about the financial objectives of the program. What will be our cost objective? How much will each component cost? What should we expect to spend for tooling, engineering, and facilities to build this vehicle? What should its price be? What return can we expect on assets employed? Sales has questions to answer too. Is this vehicle competitive? Is it competitive in roominess, in performance, in styling trend, in price? Manufacturing must give us some answers. Is the package feasible with present capacity and facilities? What modifications or additions to facilities will we need to build this car or truck or tractor? What new tooling will be necessary? And this is finally it. This is what we've been working toward. In this book, the Advanced Vehicle Program Proposal, are the answers. All the months of study and research and work are here. Market, performance, styling, and financial objectives. Package dimensions, chassis and engine specifications, features, body types, timing. Now one more look. One final check by the staff offices of finance, manufacturing, sales and advertising, and engineering before it's presented to the full committee. One big question to be answered by each in his special field. Is the package soundly designed? Can it be engineered in the time allowed? Can we build this vehicle? Are the financial considerations sound? Can we sell this vehicle? Is it competitive? And now the product division is ready for the big day.
Gentlemen, our division would like to present today our proposed program for the Ford car line to be introduced in 50.
Now it's up to the product planning committee. Is this the vehicle we want to offer to the public in 1950X? Here in this meeting, a decision will be made, a direction taken. Changes will be made, certainly, suggestions offered. But for all practical purposes, here will be decided what the car or truck or tractor of 3 years from now will be. And the amazing part of it is this: not a single line has been styled, not a single model has been made. No one knows at this moment of decision what this vehicle will look like. When the vehicle program has been approved, it becomes the job of our engineering staff to fill in the skeleton of the package with steel and chrome and fabric and rubber and glass. Now actual styling and design can start. From the stockpile of ideas and concepts and shapes, from the creative minds of Ford stylists and engineers, From the developmental programs constantly in progress, our future vehicle begins to take shape around the package. Package dimensions are translated into styling trends. Lines and forms and contours, both functional and pleasing to the eye. From hundreds of sketches, dozens of ideas are rendered from which the product planning committee, with recommendations by the vehicle division, will choose a styling direction. An idea here, a line there, this fender contour, that windshield. A seating butt, the interior dimensions interpreted physically. Comfort, convenience, roominess made certain. Visibility and safety checked out. Then 3/8 size clay models. The vehicle begins to take on 3 dimensions. How does it look now, with depth? At the same time, intensive work going on in development and design of vehicle components. Engines, chassis components, transmissions, body and electrical components. Checks with manufacturing engineering. Plastic models used to make certain the styling and arrangement are feasible for manufacture. Changes suggested to save time in fabricating, machining, assembling. Full-size clay models made. Exterior surfaces approaching their final form. Front end and grille finalized. Trim combinations, colors and fabrics presented. The best of them chosen. And all the time, testing going on in engineering. Thousands of hours in the laboratory, thousands of miles on the road, performance and durability and safety tests for every basic component. The months are flying by now. The introductory dates are getting closer. We're fighting time every step of the way, time and cost. And regular reports are being made to the committee on the progress of the program. In engineering, they're starting to put together the prototypes of the vehicle. Handmade jobs from the bottom up. Then more testing, more modification and improvement. Advanced information prints go out to manufacturing and purchasing so that equipment and facilities can be planned. Sources lined up for tools and dies and purchased materials. And finally, we've reached the end. The program, started more than 4 years before, reaches its culmination. We're ready to roll job number 1 off our assembly lines. Yes, we've done a good job this time. We've styled and designed and built the car that Jim Johnson and thousands like him wanted. But we don't stop there. We can't. If you stand still in this business, you go backward. We're already developing our objectives for the vehicle he'll want 4 years from now, determining package dimensions and specifications for the car he'll buy 3 years from now, finalizing the styling he'll admire 2 years from now. And the car he'll drive next year is already being tooled up and prototypes are being tested. It never stops. That's product planning at Ford. A long look into the future with but a single objective: leadership in car styling, in car performance, in car ownership. And always better tomorrow on the American road.